Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be too much of a cold fish. Well, I've got an email here from a guy who had been dating a woman for a few months. They went on 9 dates total. He says they kissed on the second date and were having sex in the third. And they've basically been hanging out, having fun, and hooking up ever since. Their schedules didn't match up real well, so the only time they really got together was on the weekends. But after the last date, they had a great day together, went hiking, had a lot of fun, made dinner together, hooked up several times. And then she said she had to go. She had to get up early to meet a friend, supposedly. So he takes her to the train station. And then as she's about to get on the train, she's like, oh, by the way, I don't think we're going to work out long term. And then afterwards, he's thinking, okay. And afterwards, she texts him and says, it's probably best that we don't talk for a while. But, later on down the road, it's okay if you want to call me. And we can go hang out as hiking buddies, just as friends. So he's thinking, what the hell? I thought everything was going great. I'm following what you teach, Corey. I was like, what's up with this girl? Totally blindsided him. And you know how I'm always saying read the book 10 to 15 times? There's a reason for that. You must learn pickup skills, dating skills, and relationship skills. I see a lot of guys doing this. They start reading my work. They read my book 1 or 2 times. They start having some success. They start getting laid, having some sex. And they're thinking, I got it. I don't need to read this shit anymore. And they don't even bother learning the dating, the courtship, or the communication, the relationship skills. And they get later on down the line, and they're still hanging out and having fun and hooking up and only focusing on that. And after a while, a woman starts to feel like the guy doesn't really care about her. Remember, women want to be in a love story. That's why the pickup artists and the bad boys, they never get very far when it comes to long-term relationships. Because it's like once they run out of stories and routines and their little act that they use to get a woman into bed, then the woman realizes this is all this guy's got. And they're out of there. So I got a quote that I wrote, and then we're going to go through his email and see what we can see. See where potentially he may have gone wrong. Or maybe the girl's a Fruit Loop. We don't know. Maybe there's another dude in the picture. We don't know yet. So the quote says, women want to be in a love story. A woman wants a man who makes her feel like the most special woman in the whole world to him. She wants a man who deeply and truly cares about her dreams, and making her happy. No matter how attractive a man is, what a great lover he is, or how great a guy he is, if he acts like a cold fish who only seems to care about getting laid and meeting his needs, she will lose interest, attraction, and eventually dump him. This is why the pickup artists and bad boys fail to stick around long term. They are only focused on the short-term transactional goal of getting laid instead of the long-term goal of getting to know a woman's soul. And for those of you, because I know many of you also watch different pickup artist videos and things of that nature, but the one thing that strikes me, because I'm always looking at people's body language, their physiology, their tone of the voice, and you can pick up on people's model of the world and how they look at the world. And 99.9% of the people in the pickup and seduction community, they're just transactionally focused on getting laid, and that's pretty much it. As a matter of fact, when you read the different books, there's nothing in there about a relationship or dating or much past getting a woman into bed. Because most of those guys that do that, it's like, I mean, I have friends, or there are guys that are out there that are like this. They want to go from woman to woman. It's the thrill of the hunt. I got a guy I know who's like that. It's just the fucking thrill of the hunt. That's just his thing. He likes being able to talk a woman into dating and sleeping with him, especially if they're not that interested at first. He cheats on all of his girlfriends. He lies to all of them. I'm just thinking, man, it's just so much effort to live your life that way. You're always backpedaling, you tell another lie to cover up another one that may be unraveling. I'm thinking, why the fuck would you want to live your life that way? But hey, different strokes for different folks. The guy's kind of a shallow dude, and that's what I notice about when I watch videos from the majority of the people that are in the pickup and seduction community. Very shallow. You just watch how they interact with other people, and they don't fucking give a shit about other people. It's just about what they want and using people and saying whatever they got to say to get the experience that they want, and then they're on the next. And hey, you know what? If that's fulfilling for them, then great. Me personally, I'm more into having good, high-quality relationships, especially when you grow up in a family where there aren't a lot of great, high-quality relationships. You really learn to value people who care about you, who want to be in your life, not because of what they can get from you, but because of the value that you bring to their lives and vice versa. So let's go through his email. He says, "Hey Corey, your book is amazing and so are your videos. You really have made me realize a lot of stuff, but there's a situation I just can't figure out." Well, when you read the book 10 to 15 times and you practice this stuff, I mean, women pretty much become predictable. You can tell how they're feeling about you based upon their body language, their physiology, what they say, what they do. And when a guy writes me an email like this and he's going, I don't know what the fuck happened, that tells me he's got no sensory acuity and he doesn't know the book. Because he hasn't read it 10 to 15 times. He got some success, then he tossed it out the window. He's like, I don't need to read it 10 to 15 times. I'm special. I'm different. I'm smarter than the average guy that Corey coaches. That's what they tell themselves. And those guys, are when I do phone sessions with them, they're the ones that are in the worst shape because they didn't fucking listen. So he says, I've been dating this really sweet foreign girl for about 2 months. She lives in my country and is going to stay for at least a couple of years. It started out really great. We kissed on the second date and had amazing sex on the third. Why no kiss on the first date? In the 2 months we dated, we only went on 9 dates. Most of the time our schedules really didn't fit and we were only free to get together on the weekends. It didn't bother me that much because then I could just lean back and make her do 90% of the texting and pursuing, and she did. I've been texting once a week to set up dates, and while she has been texting me almost non-stop. What's a good sign? And everything looks normal under that circumstance. You're hanging out, you're having fun, you're hooking up. The girl's doing almost all the calling, texting, and pursuing. It's exactly what you want. And I've seen many guys get in this situation thinking they're getting laid, everything's great. But what happens is they take being indifferent too far, too much of a cold fish, and they never really go out of their way to make the woman feel special. It's just like, hey, I'm getting laid. Why rock the boat? And so they're not sweet. They're not playful. They don't make the woman feel like they really care about who they are. And that's what I notice here, as because obviously I've already read this email, is that my impression is from reading this that the guy was a little bit too much of a cold fish, trying to play it cool, so to speak, like a lot of guys like to describe it, or they act like they don't really give a shit, and they never say sweet things to a woman. They never call her baby or sweetie or honey, or just send sweet texts. Hey, just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you. Have a great day. Out of the blue, something along those lines. Or when the woman says, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't make me feel like you really care about me. When a woman says something, they always say it for a reason, and most guys just ignore it and they go, I hear it all the time. I didn't think she was serious. I didn't think she really meant it. You didn't think she meant it when she says she wants you to be more affectionate. She wants you to make her feel like you really care. She wants to feel like she's the most special woman in the world to you. And a woman says things over and over and over again, and the guy doesn't listen. That's one of the things that they say. You didn't listen when they're doing the dumping. And by then it's usually too late. He says, this is where things start to make no sense to me. On our 9th date, well, if you'd have been following everything that I teach in the book, usually by week 7, around the 7th date, if you're just going out once a week or so, that's usually where she wants to be exclusive. But the fact that you're 2 months down the road and you're on your 9th date and this girl's breaking up with you, something is missing. But obviously from the email, the guy believes that he did everything right. But I'm looking, as a coach, I'm looking at like, what are this woman's actions? These are not the actions of a woman who's crazy head over heels in love with this guy or infatuated with him. It looks like a woman who was dating this guy for a couple months, and at first she really thought it might go somewhere, but he acted like too much of a cold fish to the point where she's just like, all right, see you later. This is it for me. He's thinking, what the hell? We just had sex all day. We had a great day together. He says on our 9th date, we went hiking and had a really good time together. On our way home, she asked if I had any plans for the night. I didn't, and asked her to come and make dinner with me at my place, which she agreed to right away. That sounds good so far. You're playing it by ear, you're hanging out, you're having fun, you're hooking up. He says the first thing we did when we got back to my place was have sex. If you were crazy about her and she was crazy about you, you'd been saying we made love. There's a difference. When you've made love for the first time, it doesn't matter if you slept with 1,000 women before. When you make love to a woman's soul, who she is, when you're crazy about who she is as a person, you love listening to her. You can listen to her all hours of the day and night. She's fun to be around. You enjoy waking up next to her. You enjoy waking up with her in your arms, drooling all over your chest. When she's not with you and you're thinking about her, you think about the sweet things that she does or the messages that she surprises you with out of the blue, sweet things. It's nothing like it, man. Nothing like it. It's a life-changing experience. It's a paradigm-shifting experience when you make love to a woman, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You feel like you get to know her soul and you touch the soul of who she is as a human being. If you're just hanging out, having fun, and hooking up, and not really getting to know somebody, then it's just more transactional. Then you're just using her for sex. And women aren't stupid. Eventually, they can tell when a guy's really into them and when the guy's just going through the motions. The first thing we did when we got back to my place was have sex. She was on her period, but I've got some tricks up my sleeve and made her orgasm anyway. We then proceeded to make dinner, and the whole time she was really touchy and was hugging and kissing me. After dinner, we wanted to watch a movie, but I ended up giving her another screaming orgasm. So far, so good. She said she couldn't stay over because she was meeting a friend in the morning, so I followed her to the bus stop so she could get home around midnight. On the way to the bus stop, while holding hands, she dropped the bomb and told me she didn't see us together long term. What do you mean? That's how you respond to that. Well, what do you mean? Why do you say that? I was really surprised, but I didn't really react other than with a, well, that's how it goes sometimes. Well, what do you think? Do you think that's a guy who adores this woman and is really sad that she's basically ending things? Or does it sound like a guy, it's like, all right, well, I guess that's the end of that fuck buddy. I guess I'm going to have to look for another fuck buddy. Or I'm going to have to go and only sleep with this other fuck buddy that I got. Do you think that those are the words of a guy who feels like she's the most special woman in the world to him? Nope. That's the way it is. She started crying and hugging me and said she was going to miss me a lot. When I got home, she texted me that we shouldn't contact each other for some time because it would make things too hard. Well, obviously that tells me she really cares about you. But it sounds like she cares about you, but it's obvious that you're not into her. Not that into her, I should say. And that long term, you don't act like a guy who wants to make her your girlfriend. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that sometimes these kinds of, it ends. And it's better for these kinds of relationships to end. Because unless she's knocking your socks off, unless you're crazy about her, you're wasting your fucking time. The idea is, once you realize that a woman is not somebody that you want to have a long-term relationship with, that's why you got to keep circulating and having other options. And I understand guys that haven't had a lot of success with women, they get a really great girl. She's easy to be with. Sex is easy. Low maintenance. I'll just ride this wave for a while. But the bottom line is life is change, growth is optional. And the idea is to try to get better. Because you want to be, if you want to have a long-term relationship, you got to be with somebody that knocks your socks off. Or you can be like most people and just settle for the first warm body that comes along and put up with their bullshit, and you put up with their bullshit the rest of your lives and try not to make each other miserable. That doesn't sound appealing to me, but most people in the world, that's what they do. She said, but in the future, I was free to give her a call if I wanted a hiking buddy. Yeah, that sounds swell. I just told her I wouldn't be contacting her and we should just leave it at that. I haven't contacted her for 6 days now and she's starting to act differently on Facebook. She's putting up more pictures of herself and stuff like that, which is typical after someone stops seeing you, is they start showing all these pictures of how everything was great in their life, and like they didn't even, after the breakup, they didn't even miss a beat. You're not even an afterthought. They've completely moved on. I did an article a couple months ago, and I referenced an article that was done where they did studies on that, and it's most of the shit you see on other people's social media that maybe you get jealous about. You go, damn, they got the life. Most of it's bullshit. He says, what happened? Why would she behave like that just to dump me at the end of the night? Well, I'd say you didn't read the book 10 to 15 times. Your sensory acuity was not developed because it doesn't sound like you dated enough different women to be able to tell who's really into you and who's not, and vice versa. You shouldn't waste your time and just get hung up on one girl when it's mediocre. I'm a peak performance coach. I'm not about helping you be mediocre. Most people do pretty well on their own at being mediocre. I want you to have something that's spectacular, and one that knocks your socks off. Because when you have relationships with those kind of women, those are the kind of women that you remember the rest of your life. And when you think about them, you smile. Most people don't have those kinds of memories. Most people, like when they think about their dating life when they were single, like, oh God, I'm so glad that I'm not single anymore. I'm so glad I have somebody. But that person that they're with is not spectacular. They're not knocking their socks off. They're not making the effort to make their relationship really great. It's like they got somebody to keep them company so they can feel good about themselves and feel validation. For me personally, that's not a good enough standard. And at the end of the day, and when you read, if you've listened to the words of this guy's email, does this sound like somebody who really cares about this woman? Or does this sound like a guy that's just kind of upset because his fuck buddy doesn't want to be his fuck buddy anymore? Nothing in here about how much he loves her, cares about her, thinks she's awesome. But the one thing I would have done differently is when she said that she doesn't see us together long term, I would have said, well, what do you mean? Or why are you saying that? And had her explain that. And say, well, I really like you. I care about you a lot. I don't want to just not see you anymore. But if you made up your mind, you made up your mind. I'm not going to beg you to stay or beg you to change your mind. But I'm not interested in hanging out as just friends and being your hiking buddy. This is not what I signed up for. I signed up because I think you're gorgeous. I think you're sexy. We have a great time together. I love listening to you. We have a lot of the same interests in common. That's why I'm here. If you want to continue with sex and romance, I'm down for that. We'll see where it goes. But if not, then and you just want to have something platonic, that just doesn't work for me. I can't go from being lovers to being platonic friends. That's ridiculous. That simply doesn't work for me. It's not what I signed up for. But, if you ever change your mind, please get in touch with me. That's what I would have said to her. There could be another guy in the picture. Maybe she was doing the same thing. Maybe because you didn't make her feel like you really cared about her, maybe there's another dude. Or maybe there's not. Maybe she's just strong enough and she realized that you're just not that into her. And no matter what you say, she can look at your actions. I mean, I can look at your email and I can tell on a scale of 1 to 10, this girl in your eyes is probably a 5 or a 6, if that. If she was, you felt like she was the love of your life, your words would have been a lot more descriptive. And you wouldn't have been writing me this email in the first place. So it's like, again, this is another example of a guy projecting his fantasy of what he thought this relationship was, but really ignoring the reality of what it is. And the bottom line is, it sounds like this girl was really into him, but she realized that he's just not that into her. And she wants a guy that adores her, that treasures her, that worships her. and she's strong enough to say, hey, this has been fun, but I don't see myself with you long term because you don't treat me like the kind of guy would treat me, that I want to be with, would treat me long term. So, I mean, at this point, there's nothing that you can do, but you definitely need to read the book 10 to 15 times, and you should have more options than just this one particular girl. The idea is to constantly always be improving the quality of the women you date. So when you do walk down the street, you're proud of the girl on your arm, and you're happy to introduce her to your friends and your family, and you love listening to her. You love the sound of her voice. You love the way that her mind thinks. You love listening to her talk about her friends, her family, her job, her career, her hopes, her dreams, whatever makes her tick. You just love being with her, taking a long car drive somewhere. You don't even have to be talking. Just listen to good music that both of you enjoy. Just simple moments like that. Somebody that's spectacular in your eyes. And until you find that, until you're walking down the street with that kind of person on your arm, you must keep circulating. You must keep moving. Too many people do this. They get something that's better than what they had, or that's the best so far that they've had, but it's not really spectacular, and they just try to stretch out. It's like getting to the bottom of the peanut butter jar, and there's not enough peanut butter in there for a PBJ, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So you try to spread the peanut butter as much as you can over the bread, and it just doesn't work. There's only so much peanut butter to go around. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. And you can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and following the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.